Hi, welcome to Jet Radio. I'm Ted Shire, your host, and with us today are Matt Unger from the Iowa Food Bank and Mary Crisco. She is with ISU Extension. I'll introduce them in a little bit. I want to give a little intro material for the program here. Jet Radio is dedicated to community service as a means of sustainability, and that is everyone doing their part to better the community. The more people are involved in helping others in the community, the more sustainable it will be. And so Jet Radio has guests from a variety of different types of sustainability: personal, community, environmental, and financial sustainability, because major contributions are made each of those areas and are all interactive in determining overall sustainability. So one of the goals of Jet Radio is to promote the work of others. There's many different types of organizations that make a difference in sustainability, and human behavior is the basis of the other types of sustainability, so it's foundational. So for instance, environmental sustainability is ultimately dependent on personal sustainability. So helping others helps us, and when programs are structured in that way, it's the most sustainable model because it helps people become self-sustaining. And that is because it decreases repeat work. When you teach someone to help themselves, then it decreases the amount at which people have to relearn lessons, and that saves a lot of resources. One of the areas that JET covers in particular is healthcare and welfare. We have a program for reversal of type 2 diabetes, which occupies about 10% of the population right now, and will go up to about 33% by 2050, it's estimated by the CDC. According to Dr. Mark Hyman, diabetes is nearly 100% preventable. And he defines it a little bit wider. Instead of diabetes, he calls it diabesity, and quote, that is the continuum of abnormal biology that ranges from mild insulin resistance to full-blown diabetes. And interestingly enough, there's one basic detox diet that works for almost all chronic conditions to reverse them. The material, the sustainability background material covered by this show is found in Everyone Needs Sustainability, and that's a book I authored that communicates community service as a means of sustainability, and that's available on Amazon. And as I mentioned, JET also has a coaching program for reversal of type 2 diabetes, and that's called T2D-H2. This week's focus is community sustainability, with a particular emphasis on how to increase availability of healthy food to low-income folks. And so the call-in number is 515-244-0077. And Mary and Matt, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your work, please?
Well, my name is Mary Crisco. I'm a human sciences specialist in nutrition and wellness for ISU Extension and Outreach. And I'm a dietitian by profession. And my job is to teach nutrition in Polk, Warren, Madison, and Dallas counties.
Yeah, excellent, Matt.
And I am the program manager at the Food Bank of Iowa. So I kind of head up our programs and agency relations teams. So kind of all the ways we're getting food out. Been there about 3 years, and just trying to make improvements every day.
Excellent, excellent. Mary, as an example, could you tell us about the WIN program?
This is a program of ISU Extension that's not just in this area, but it's statewide. It's a small grant program called Wellness and Independence Through Nutrition. And the basic idea is, as a dietitian, I train volunteers to give entertaining but informative research-based talks on nutrition to adults older than 50. And in the course of giving these talks, they can talk on container gardening, how to flavor your food without salt, also play My Plate Bingo, to learn about some healthier food choices. And at the end of, say, a 20-minute presentation like that, the volunteers would pass out a little evaluation. And on the evaluation, we very discreetly ask, are you interested in food assistance? Because a greater percentage of adults older than 50 who are eligible for food assistance do not apply for it. So,
Why is that?
well, I think there can be a lot of different reasons for that. I mean, if you're older than 50, you kind of remember the 80s. And the 80s is when it became like almost an evil thing to sign up for food assistance, because that's when the myth of the welfare queen, the food stamp queen, came out, and it was like, oh, you're a loafer and a no good if you apply for food assistance. And so a lot of people just feel like one of the reasons that I hear sometimes is an older person will say, well, I know I'm eligible, but maybe I shouldn't sign up because maybe someone needs it more than I do. Okay. And also they're put off by things that it might be embarrassing to do, maybe, or maybe they have to drive somewhere to apply, or maybe you have to use the computer to apply, or maybe you have to maybe everybody will stare at you at the grocery store. And so when we go off on these, when my volunteers go off on their little presentations, they're reminding people that things have changed and that food assistance is actually a healthcare program, because the community suffers a great deal more if malnourished older adults do not get the food they need. I mean, they tend to get sick faster and recover more slowly, and food assistance is necessary in a recession. If you are living on a fixed income and prices are going up, then food assistance is part of your social safety net. It's something you ought to take advantage, really, if you want to be considerate of the community. Because when people are eligible and they don't apply, that's food money that gets unused. That's money that doesn't go to the grocery store. Ultimately, it's money that the farmers don't get.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, Matt, did you?
I'd add to that too. It's also more that the volunteer organizations have to do. So if folks are eligible for benefits and not receiving them, that's that much more food that the emergency system, volunteer system, has to pick up that slack, and they're taxed as it is.
Yeah. Is there a strong relationship between hunger and nutrition?
Oh, of course.
Could you help us understand that?
Well, we have, in the United States, we have a form of malnutrition. People think of the Biafran babies, with I don't see any pot-bellied kids with skinny, bony arms and things. The kind of malnutrition is that we have in the United States is generally invisible. You will have people who are suffer from iron deficiency anemia. You have kids and adults who are not getting enough fruits and vegetables, so their risk of cancer is higher. Their risk of diabetes and diabetes is certainly higher. Calories, refined carbohydrates and sugars and fats are generally cheaper calories than fruits and vegetables. And because of this, there are not many people who are, I would say, calorie deficient. You can get plenty of calories, but what's in those calories? Is it food that's going to make you healthy, or is it food that's going to make you sick?
Yeah. It's interesting because, you mentioned cancer, and Dr. Deming has been on Jet Radio before, but he explained that link as well. We tend to think of um, harsh things causing cancer, but it's processed foods, it's, it could be candy bars, things like that, so, it's really important that that kind of information gets out, and that more people become aware. So how aware do you think people are becoming, Matt, in terms of people coming to the food banks?
We're definitely seeing it at the pantry level, with the increases in level of diabetes with some of the clients that they're seeing. Folks are coming into pantries with special dietary needs. If you think about your average kind of food drive, the kinds of things that people generally get to donate, they'll try to buy a lot of something that's cheap, thinking that, well, I can stretch this. This is going to go farther. Which, in some ways just complicates some of the problems they're having already.
Yeah.
We've tried to put a huge emphasis on fresh foods, particularly with produce. We do a lot of retail pickups with partners like Walmart and Target and the grocers, Hy-Vees, Fairways across the 55 counties we serve. Just trying to increase the fresh product that's available for these folks, and trying to get away from the high kind of preservatives in some of these canned goods. Not that we don't need the canned goods too, but you can't just sustain yourself on a bunch of the canned goods.
Yeah. What are some examples of things that people think are healthy but actually are not healthy?
A lot of the soups. Some people look at some of the soups
Very
and
high
see,
in salt.
Yep, a lot of, oh, great, it's got protein in it. That's great. And then you'll see that it has 80% of your day's sodium intake. Some of the juices, people think, fruit juice, this is great. But a lot of it's not 100% juice. Some of the fruit cups we get, people think, oh, great fruit cups, but they're in high fructose corn syrup. We've tried to do a lot of education through, letting people know about the kinds of products we need. We purchase a lot of products. One thing we never turn down a food drive. Food drives are important. We couldn't do the work we do without them. But what we can do with our purchasing power with $1, we can turn $1 into 4.5 meals just because we can buy in such bulk. And then we can get the products that we know are healthy, good things that our partners and the clients they serve need.
Yeah. Now, do you have a dietitian on staff?
We do not have a dietitian, but we have kind of worked with nutrition counselors. We've had Marion many times. We've worked with dietitians, with Hy-Vee, the State Dietetic Association. We're always keeping an eye on, particularly with our programming, and we're putting together a menu of products that's going to go out. We always try and get the thumbs up from our friends in the nutrition world that we've got the right course here and we're heading the right direction.
Yeah. And any resources you would recommend? In terms of, like you come in and give them the lowdown on nutrition, but do you recommend resources for them? Hey, why don't you read this book or that book, type thing, or?
Well, basically, the food bank is pretty far along in their nutrition knowledge already. They're trying to provide food for balanced meals, and that's based on MyPlate, basically, the USDA MyPlate. So they're trying to provide, and that's why there's this push for more fruits and vegetables, because the principles of the USDA dietary guidelines are at least half your plate should be vegetables and fruit. So that's a big challenge, and canned vegetables can be nutritious, but people do have to wash the salt off of it before they use it, and it would be wonderful if more people who did food drives kind of really focused in on like low salt soups and fruit packed in fruit juice. That would be wonderful. When the food bank needs help with something, they'll call in a lot of different resources from around the community. I think this is very smart of them because they'll ask a dietitian from ISU Extension, they'll get a Hy-Vee dietitian, they'll get someone from, the Iowa Nutrition Network. And the last time I was in there for a little committee meeting was we were trying to figure out the best things we could put into the kids' backpack program. Have you heard of that?
Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
I think you ought to
Can I
tell
jump
about
in?
it. Yes,
Okay.
jump in.
So the backpack program is a program for elementary aged youth. It's to send something home for kids who, particularly kids on free and reduced lunches, who are getting breakfast and lunch in school throughout the week. But then, the weekend comes and those breakfast and lunch stop. So we put together a sack of about 14 different items to kind of get them through the weekend. Again, it's geared towards elementary age students. A couple shelf-stable milks, a couple 100% fruit juices. We usually get a cereal, at least a cereal and an oatmeal in the colder months, 2 cereals in the warmer months, a snack of some kind. We give them a pudding for something, a little dessert. And then we do our best with the Pop-Top meals that we can find that aren't as high in sodium as others. And then either a peanut butter pack or a sun butter pack for the schools that are peanut free to get them some more protein. And this coming school year, we'll be serving 5,000 kids in 131 schools in, I believe, 31 of our 55 counties.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's really grown gangbusters in the last 2 years.
Yeah. So, when you interact with a variety of organizations, you got Hy-Vee and other organizations you interact with, are some of those addressing some of the non-physical health issues that clients have?
In some ways, for the most part, it's been based around the food. In that aspect, we try to bring in partners to relate on some of the other issues through some of our other programming, particularly with our mobile pantries, and we do a produce stand in the summer every year. And that's another thing we're going to be working with Mary on again too. And with the produce stand particularly, we also partner with Broadlawns. So while folks are waiting in line, they're helping them with blood pressure checks and that kind of thing. Then we're hoping to have Mary there to talk about kind of some of the things they can do with these fruits and vegetables that they're being provided, why they're good for them, why it's a better alternative to some other things that they may be getting. Which is going to, kind of snowball into some of those other health issues. I think the biggest thing we've found is that the clients that we and our partners serve they're strapped for time. If you can take one more stop out of their group of stops they have to make and kind of make these one-stop shops, we tend to call them, offer as many services in one place as you can. That really goes a long way to helping them up.
No, that's fantastic. So Broadlawns is a big recovery center. They've got an excellent recovery program. Do they talk about any recovery issues with clients?
We're not privy to what they're discussing with the clients. I know a lot of the Broadlawns clients are coming to our produce stands. We're kind of careful not to over promote it because this is a city of 500,000 people and we can only serve so many people at these produce stands, which happen on Wednesdays in Des Moines from 2:30 to 3:30 at the Broadlawns WIC Clinic at River Place. Quick plug there. But they are discussing, their specific kind of treatment plans and kind of gearing them towards coming to the produce stand. One thing we've been kind of exploring is trying to locate pantries in health facilities. Some other states have had some pretty good success with almost having doctors prescribe foods for their clients as they're coming out. Kind of give them a prescription, stop by the food pantry and pick up, a box of healthy food to take home.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it sounds like an excellent way to integrate. There's 7 types of health, right? It sounds like an excellent way to integrate holistic health. And as we um, as we know, we repeat our work if we don't get to the root.
Right.
So that's kind of the whole point. If we can take a treatment approach, and we're just going to get we're going to make a bunch of repeat work for ourselves.
Right.
But if we take the approach of preventive health care, then you don't have as much of that repeat work.
Right.
So anyway, it sounds like a really promising foundation upon which something can be built that, as time and resources allow, provide some opportunities to integrate more of those, whether it's mental health, emotional health, things like that, because those are ultimately some of the things that are at the root. And I've had my own recovery journey with many of those kinds of issues, and
Sure.
and so I have personal experience there. But yeah, it just keeps coming back unless you deal with it. And any one program gives people a step,
Right.
and so again, that's where it's good for that collaboration to come in, because then other programs can help take people a little bit deeper in a different area, something like that. So
Right. And there's a buzzword in food banking right now, collaboration for clients. Kind of looking outside the box of, trying to create these partnerships. And for us, partnerships are everything. We are a very small organization. We cover 55 counties, 42 from our facility in Des Moines, with a staff just under 20. So without community partnerships, public, private, faith-based, NGOs, the whole gambit, it takes everyone working on every piece of this to kind of really get at the root of these problems like you're talking about. It's not just folks who suffer from hunger. It's usually a cadre of other things that are impacting that as well. And you can't just go after one spoke of the wheel. You got to fix all spokes if you're going to get rolling.
right. So say someone comes in with an obvious, I've helped out at homeless shelters and things like that. Say someone comes in with an obvious mental health issue. How do you handle that? Depending on, say they ask for help, how do you handle that?
It's really going to depend on the community in which it's happening. Here in Des Moines, we've got a lot of great resources. I know Central Iowa Shelter and Services has one of the most comprehensive set of services available to their clients that I've seen, and I've done a decent amount of research on homeless shelters. They do very well in that area, but you get somewhere more rural, let's say you're in Adair, Iowa, you might not have those same resources. Someone might have to get referred to come all the way to Des Moines to get treatment in that way.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's a real challenge. We see the same challenges in just trying to get food to folks.
Right.
As you get further and further outside, the Golden Circle of Des Moines, there's more and more challenges you face.
Sure. But Mary, what do you see as do you see barriers in terms of if someone has a need beyond their physical needs? Do you see barriers to asking questions? Hey, how's it going with such and such, or do you see barriers to exploring what those additional needs might be?
Well, I think a lot of programming is funded by specific grants, and the grant will give you money to do one thing, but not another thing that might make absolute sense in that situation. So, for example, in WIN, we're meant to go in there. We're meant to go to a senior housing center or a congregate meal site and be entertaining and talk about food, and just collect the numbers of people who need food assistance. So we would not spend any time finding out what else is going on with you folks.
Even if it came up.
Well, we do have some. We do have like a referral sheet, you know. In fact, ISU Extension has a statewide hotline called Iowa Concern, and it's a hotline that you call that for financial problems. If you've got a housing problems. It originally started back when Iowa had these really severe floods, and so many people were displaced. And so Iowa Concern started. Actually, the call center is located right here in Des Moines, and people can call this 1-800 number. And okay, I've just lost my job. Where can I go? What can I do? That's the kind of questions they answer. We have questions. It's sort of mushroomed into some specialized hotlines too. Like we run a gambling hotline to quit it, not to start. And then we have a teen hotline. We have a maternal and child health hotline. So we're serving the university's purpose, which is to bring information to the community. We don't actually run the recovery programs ourselves, though.
Yeah. No, thanks for sharing. We are going to continue this discussion on community outreach and some of the ways that food banks and nutrition services can help. We'll be back after a little break, and we're with Matt Unger of the Iowa Food Bank and with Mary Crisco of ISU Extension. Thanks for joining us today.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Homs,
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team,
I'll take a call anytime.
and then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're gonna make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
Hi, welcome back to Jet Radio. I'm Ted Shire, your host, and with us today are Matt Unger from the Iowa Food Bank and Mary Crisco. She is with ISU Extension, and we are talking about ways to increase the availability of nutritious food to low-income folks, and also talked about how some of the collaborative agreements or partnerships can help at mobile pantry services. So one of the follow-up questions I was thinking of as we discuss the mobile pantries are how what do you sense the openness level is to clients for starting out with the food and nutrition changes? How open are clients to the information that you have to offer and then implementing those diet changes?
I've done a lot of pantry work, and I've also done mobile pantries, and I find that there's a lot of people that are very interested, and there are some people that are not so much. But the main thing to get the main message I try to get through is, okay, you got some free eggplants today. Here's something I made with eggplants. See if you like it. And if they like it, and I ask them, are you interested in the recipe? I could give you this little recipe. Because, I mean, a lot of it has to do with unfamiliarity with certain kinds of foods. I mean, all of us get into a rut with eating, and people can be reluctant to take produce because it is so perishable, and they feel like, oh, maybe it'll go bad in my fridge before I can figure out what to do with it. So it's very good to partner with pantries and provide recipes, but especially demos, because a lot of people are not, there's barriers to cooking at home too, because they might not have a lot of spices on hand. That's a high ticket item. Do people donate spices to the pantry?
Yeah, we get we partner with Tones.
Oh, cool.
Up in Ankeny. So we actually get a decent amount of spices.
That's a really good thing. They might not have, all the kitchen utensils they might need, or maybe they don't have a stove. They might be cooking with a microwave. Some people that live by themselves, they don't, they might not have much of a kitchenette. So cooking can be a hard sell, but you sell good food with taste. I never ever say this has vitamin A and it's great for your night vision. Forget that. As soon as you say this is healthy for you, people go, oh.
Must taste bad.
Yeah, it must taste bad. So you focus on the joy of eating fruits and vegetables, and you don't really get too much into health. This is something you can enjoy, because you got to recognize that food, although food is a very important medicine, primarily it's a source of joy in people's lives, and it's the most reliable source of pleasure they've got.
Yeah. So say someone has interest. You said many people are interested in the nutritional aspect of things. What is the distance between interest and implementation?
Well, I don't get to find out when I'm at the pantry, unless I'm at the pantry multiple times and I get to see someone again and they tell me, oh, I tried out that recipe. We know that we're having at least some impact if, people have a choice of what they can take. Like at pantries, they can choose to take the fresh produce or they cannot. And we know we've done a good job if we've moved the food, so to speak. If we've gotten people to take maybe a vegetable they're not quite comfortable with.
Yeah. So isn't there some combination of data and aesthetics? So for instance, sure, I can understand good tasting food sells health or whatever. But isn't there a point when it's actually helpful for people to understand their numbers? Hey, their blood sugar is over the borderline now, and they're officially diabetic, or whatever the case may be. It isn't.
Well, people when they find out I'm a dietitian,
Yeah.
they will ask me those kinds of questions. As a representative of Extension, I can't give individualized counseling. I can tell them that, if they're receiving, if they have any kind of health insurance, Medicaid, whatever, Obamacare, they should be able to have at least a few sessions with a registered dietitian to talk about how food, in depth individually about how food impacts their health.
Yeah. No, that's good. So, what would you recommend as kind of a how do you tell when they're ready for
Their stage of behavior change, you mean?
yeah.
Oh, in the nutrition biz, we've done a lot of study on the stages of behavior change. There's even certain questions you can ask, because ideally you don't just go run up to a person and say, how would you like to cook these 5 different eggplant recipes? Before you get even to discuss the eggplant, you might want to talk about how do you feel about vegetables? Do you think they're too expensive? Or what are your favorite vegetables? Do you think you're getting enough vegetables? How many vegetables do you think you need? Then you're able to find, a lot of people are at the stage of, yeah, I really should be eating more vegetables. A lot of people already know that they should eat more vegetables, they should eat more fruit. And then that's the key stage where you start asking, well, what's holding you back from making this change? It's not easy to make changes in your eating habits, and all you can do when you talk to somebody is offer a few suggestions. Well, did you know you could? The cabbage is really cheap, and this coleslaw here, yeah, this costs like 15 cents a serving,
Yeah.
and it's full of. Well, only then if they really show an interest in nutrition will I mention a vitamin.
Yeah. So what about foods that help you to control appetite and they're nutritious, healthy fats?
Well, we do.
And they taste good.
Yeah, we do. In all of our materials, we recommend what we call the liquid fats. It's easier to talk about liquid fats and hard fats than it is about saturated and polyunsaturated and monounsaturated. And so we say, well, or sometimes we just say canola oil, olive oil. Do you like those? Those are good for your heart. If you're interested in heart health, any kind of health really, those are good oils to cook with, and use them sparingly. And of course, we recommend that they eat fruits and vegetables that are not deep fried.
Yeah. So I asked that because I know how difficult it's been for me to get off of carbs. I love carbs, and ever since the 80s, and we had the USDA pyramid with carbs on the bottom. Eat the most.
Your pyramid base.
Yeah. So it took me a long time to adjust because they taste so good, So, but healthy fats, I found some recipes that actually tasted really good, and they helped me to control appetite.
Oh,
So-
yeah, you should never go fat-free. You should never leave fat out of your diet. It performs some really good functions in the body.
Yeah. So do you think that would help others? That type of thing would help others to change their behavior?
Well, you have to understand when we're reaching people, say at a mobile pantry, their minds are not necessarily on how they can change their eating habits. And like you say, you have to be in the right stage of behavior change. Those people who are interested will ask me questions. And of course, the recipes and the information I provide, if they're interested in diet, I've got some very easy to read things that they can pick up at my information booth. But it's very hard to, ISU Extension offers classes in nutrition, but it's very hard to get anyone to come to them because nutrition is, the idea of nutrition is so off-putting to people. And sometimes when I introduce myself as a dietitian, people say, oh no, because they think of a good diet or nutrition as I have to give up everything I like and chew on barley groats or something. And it is a process of acclimation because you got to understand people, if you've grown up with sweetened cereals and with, imitation fruit drinks and everything's got fructose, high fructose corn syrup in it, your sense of what the flavor orange is different. You may think of orange as what it tastes like when you bite into an orange piece, but the flavors that you get from orange candies and orange flavored beverages are so much stronger. They leave a bigger impression on the memory. So it's hard for for natural foods to compete with these extra sweet flavors. So people have to have the intention to eat less sugar so that they can gradually decrease their sugar. If they go straight from a high sugar diet to a low sugar diet, their taste buds can't adjust. They just feel that they're eating, like I say, some kind of ground tasteless junk.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
It's the same thing with fat. People are, if you're used to whole fat milk, I usually recommend you why don't you try 2%? Or maybe you should mix your 2% with your whole milk for a while. And then gradually get used to less and less fat until skim milk tastes normal to you.
Yeah.
But learning has to come from the person. There's nothing I can do to make you want to reduce the sugar in your diet.
Sure.
Particularly because a lot of people have a hard time really understanding the huge difference it could make in their health and their prospects.
Yeah. No, that's good. So our guests today are Mary Crisco. She is with ISU Extension, and Matt Unger. He is with the Iowa Food Bank. And we touched a little bit on food addiction issues there, and I'd like to continue that discussion when we come back after our break. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, I'm J. Michael McCoy, and about 20 years ago, I went to a used car salesman by the name of John Hewitt. He had a little shop over there on North 2nd Avenue called John's Auto Sales, and I bought a car. I found that experience to be one that I had never had before from a used car salesman. He was honest, he was dependable, he had integrity, and he did what he said he was going to do. Well, over the years, between my kids and grandkids, I purchased 7 vehicles from John's Auto Sales. And last month, I asked him to be a sponsor. I can tell you about their huge selection. I can tell you about their years of experience. I can tell you about their honest integrity. But all I really need to tell you is that I bought 7 cars, and you can trust them. John's Auto Sales, 5435 2nd Avenue, Des Moines.
You need a good ride when you hit the trail. Trust the man with the cars, and he goes by the name of Big John. Big John. Big John.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, welcome back to Jet Radio. I'm Ted Shire, your host, and with us today are Mary Crisco. She is with ISU Extension, a nutritionist with them, and Matt Unger. He is with the Iowa Food Bank. And when we left off, we talked about the difficulty in behavior change in food patterns, eating patterns. And one of the reasons for that is food addiction, and I'm not trying to sound harsh. It's something that I've had to deal with myself. But sugar in particular is addictive, and studies by Stanford have shown that it has an independent effect, both sugar and high fructose corn syrup. And in fact, they studied several foreign countries. It was over 100 foreign countries, looked at people there where they have non-obese diabetics, thin people that get diabetes. And it's sugar is the main component of that, not necessarily overeating. So wanted to follow up a little bit with that. Matt, do you find that many of the clients come in with sugar addiction?
I think there is an increase just with more folks coming on with diabetes, and you know, the high sugared products tend to be the cheaper ones in the stores. If you can stretch your dollars by buying your kids, you know, some high sugared cereals instead of, you know, maybe a more expensive Raisin Bran or something like that. One, the kids like it more, so it, for a parent who's dealing with a bunch of stress of trying to figure out how we're going to feed the family, if you can eliminate the stress of whiny children, to put it bluntly, that's one less concern you have. But in thinking through kind of behavior change and how do you look at that and how do you make it happen, we try to really understand who our clients are and what the need is that's out there. We're a Feeding America food bank, and we do a couple of studies, one annually to look at what the need is. Right now in Iowa, we're doing pretty good with our food insecurity numbers. We are at 12.7% food insecure compared with 15.9% if you look at the nation as a whole. Kind of the startling thing that jumps out, though, when you look at those numbers on the federal level.
And we've got some slides for that. But yeah.
On the federal level, 57 and 17%. Leaving only 27% of folks that there's no program for because they earn too much money. But if you look at Iowa, 40% of our food insecure population is not eligible for any federal programs. So you look at programs like WIC, school lunches, they have a lot of nutritional balance that has to be built into it. So they're getting good things. Folks outside of those programs are probably a lot of them that are coming in with a lot of the food addictions like you talk about. They're addicted to those high salt products. They're addicted to those high sugary products. They make enough to to buy enough of those, not to keep them sustained, but it's enough to get by. So then we really try to look at the clients using our pantries, and every 4 years, Feeding America does a study called Hunger in America. And so when you look at it, half of the population that is using food pantries in our service area in particular are children and seniors. That's kind of crazy to think about. Children and seniors are making up half of the food pantry visits in a 42 county area. They're educated. Most of them are working. 60% of clients are working full time. 20% of that 60% are working more than 40 hours. And of those who don't work, 70% of them are retired. So you've got kind of this range of ages that it's almost an inverted kind of bell curve, where you got the young and the old they're really getting hammered here. One place too that Iowa stands out from the rest of the country, 20% of our clients that are grandparents are taking care of their grandchildren, compared with about 12% nationally. So we've got a lot of grandparent child homes in our state. So thinking about behavior change for seniors and children, it's a whole big ball of wax to to really take on.
Yeah. Do you have a feel for the percent malnutrition?
I'm not sure that they really drill down that far. We ask people about, how and when you're seeking these services. It's hard to know because it varies so much on a pantry to pantry basis of what kind of food they're able to offer. Most of our pantry partners are choice, where the clients can come in and pick which foods they want, but some of them are still just giving them a prepackaged box or bags of a number of items. So it's really hard to drill down through this study with that, but we know a lot of these, particularly the children, are malnourished. We talked about the backpack program earlier. One thing we give our partners on that is kind of a guide to find the malnourished child, warning signs that you can look for, both physical and then kind of behavioral signs that you can see in children to know this is a child that is not getting the nutrition they need.
Sure. Now, are those abandoned children or what's going on?
Not always. A lot of times it's maybe a single parent home. Mom or dad is working 2 or 3 jobs to break even. Maybe the kids aren't getting a lot of oversight at home. They might not have a lot at home to eat. Maybe they're just eating that school lunch and that school breakfast, if they're lucky enough to be at a school that has school breakfast. It's tough. It can be a number of different reasons.
Yeah. Are most of the school programs nutrition, meet adequate nutrition standards?
Yes. And another program we just started this year was actually locating pantries in schools. Again, thinking through how can we eliminate one more stop a family has to make. We talked about rural access being a problem. In these rural communities, particularly, a school almost serves as a community center of sorts. It's the place where families are getting most information about what's going on in that town, county, etc.
Sure.
So if they're coming to pick up the kid, come pick up a box of food too, or send it home with the child. And it's made a huge difference too in our middle and high schools, where the backpack program, the foods in that are geared towards elementary students. So a high school kid would go through that in about 45 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's been huge.
So schools are some of your main collaborators.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Are they the main collaborators, or?
They're one of our bigger partners. We partner with hundreds of churches across our service area, Rotary groups, businesses. We'll partner with anyone that has an interest.
Yeah.
Really.
No, that's great. I didn't realize the extent of your web of collaborations, and I mean that's great because when there's a network of organizations, they can reinforce the same messages in slightly different ways.
Right.
And that's, we talked about the difficulty of change, and that's one way that people can change is sometimes we have to hear something from multiple sources, a similar message from multiple sources, and finally we say, okay, well, I think I better listen to this because I've heard it so many times from so many different organizations that I trust.
Sure.
And again, that's happened many times in my own life. So it's been encouraging and enlightening for me to hear about some of the collaborations that the Iowa Food Bank has. And Mary, could you tell us more about some of the collaborations that Iowa State Extension has?
Oh, well, we have not, with the WIN program, we collaborate with any place that has seniors. And I take volunteers from anywhere, anyone who's got an interest. Aside from that, we have another program called Buy, Eat, Live Healthy. It's a federally funded program where we do nutrition education classes for parents of children up to age 10. And it's usually income challenged people, limited income. And we have educators who will go to their homes. But we need the community to support the program because we need places to give the classes. We go to churches, we go to schools, we go to, we certainly depend on other agencies that work with low-income people to publicize the availability of those classes.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about 4-H?
4-H is a volunteer organization. It depends a lot on parental involvement, and since so many parents are both working these days, we're relying more on schools and on community centers to provide leadership for after-school programs for the kids and to teach 4-H principles in that way. 4-H, we're always looking for volunteers.
It's nationwide, right? Is that right? Or
It's
not?
nationwide.
Okay.
It's nationwide.
Okay.
But Polk has one of the biggest.
But on the break, you were talking about how community-oriented 4-H is. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's basically what we teach is experiential learning. Like, how do you learn outside of school? The whole point of 4-H is to give the kids an idea, we're in charge of our own learning. This isn't something teachers do to us. And the best way to learn is by experiencing things. And it's about youth leadership. And it gives kids a chance to lead a group of their peers in community service. They're always doing community service projects. Right now, the Polk County office in Altoona we got a whole bunch of collected books. They just did a book drive to get books to poor kids.
Yeah. And so did 4-H start in Iowa?
No.
Okay.
4-H is that's an interesting question. I'm pretty sure it's not Iowa, but I'm not sure which state it was.
Okay.
But it's.
I may have misunderstood. I thought you were saying at Iowa State. That's where it all.
Well, Iowa State is where it started in Iowa.
Okay.
That's,
gotcha.
Yeah. So the first 4-H leaders here came from Iowa State University.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thank you both for joining us today. We've had Mary Crisco from ISU Extension. Thank you, Mary. And Matt Unger from the Iowa Food Bank. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah. No, you have both enlightened us today with this information, and I hope that some of the folks out there that want to help with these types of things can take some of this and help out with either the mobile food pantries or WIN or whatever the case may be. There's a nonprofit or outreach program for just about every type of interest. So try one of those, and it makes a difference in your life because helping others helps us. So thanks for joining us today, and join us again on Jet Radio to talk about community sustainability, environmental, financial, or personal sustainability. Thanks for joining us today.